All right, so you just mentioned that microplastics are like an onion, so we should get peeling about it. I do want to note in the conversation when our eyes are going to start watering. I'm assuming it's as soon as we cut into it, but let's figure it out. Microplastics, it seems like the explanation of what they are is in the name, but so is quantum physics. And so I want to still ask from the first principles foundational level, what are microplastics?
Yeah, so they're basically microscopic, very small pieces of plastic, probably around the diameter of your hair or shorter, or smaller, that basically leach off of plastic containers, and they can get into they can get ingested or get into your circulatory system and get absorbed into cells, and can cause a lot of havoc. Yeah, that's uh, that's a brief explanation, which we can keep going in more depth and into in depth.
Yeah, let's continue going on that river. So, where are microplastics primarily coming from? Are people like, is this something that you're going to notice in your day to day? Like if it's, like hair, for example, we can notice when hair is in our food. Are we noticing when microplastics are in our food, or is that something where we kind of realize after the fact when we go for a checkup or something like that?
Well, currently, neither. So you won't notice them, and you won't get a checkup showing them. There are different things that a checkup can show, but not that you have a high level of microplastics. But basically, so yeah, you ingest them. You asked where are they predominantly? Over 50% of our exposure to microplastics, it comes in the air that we breathe. And so I think it's closer to over 68%, or to yeah, around 68%. And so having a HEPA filter in your house, specifically in the room you spend the most time in, which is typically the bedroom, because when you're sleeping, is the best bang for the buck right off the bat. If you don't have a HEPA filter in the room you sleep in, and you're concerned about microplastics, that's the first thing to do. And then, presumably over 50% of your microplastics exposure gets cut. And that's important too. I was just talking with my business partner who's a researcher, and he was reading about how um, microplastics that we breathe in through our nose can actually travel along nerves, can get through the airway and travel along nerves and get into our brain. They don't even have to go past the blood-brain barrier, which is a big deal. And so, we don't want microplastics in the brain. But yeah, the in 2019, Australian researchers basically threw out the thing that's been quoted quite a bit is that we ingest or somehow get the amount of over a credit card size of microplastics every week. Now,
Oh.
that's seems like a little high to me, but even if it's half of that, even if it's 10% of that, that's still a lot of microplastics that get into our body. And so once they get in, they are because they're foreign, they get engulfed in these sacs called lysosomes. Lysosomes are the sort of the if you're my son is in ninth grade biology, and so we learned about lysosomes. And I was like, hey, this is applicable. So basically, they are the lysosomes have the job of digesting things that are done. So sometimes mitochondria, which are the powerhouse of the cell, there's mitophagy, which there's the recycling of that matter, and so they get into lysosomes, proteins get into lysosomes, things that need to be recycled get into lysosomes, digested, and then there's more. They basically provide building blocks for continued growth, and so microplastics get ingested, but they don't but they don't get digested, and so they get into these lysosomes, but then because they can't get broken down, they build up, and so it's kind of like if you think about food clogging a kitchen sink, it's kind of the same principle. The sink doesn't work properly, and when the lysosomes with these microplastics build up, the cell doesn't function properly, and so it's a big deal, and it's a big deal also because the the microplastics are porous. And so they actually have things inside of them, these things that are toxins, toxic. Could be heavy metals, it could be phthalates, it could be plasticizers like BPA, which is a known endocrine disruptor. And so what it does is it mimics estrogen. We can, and that can cause a lot of issues, both in men and women.
There's so much to unpack there. So let's go back to the credit cards that we're apparently
Yeah.
ingesting every week. Let's just say it's not a credit card. Let's say it's 10%.
Sure.
That still seems, as you were saying, it still seems like way too much to be ingesting anyway. But also, shouldn't my body be kind of like filling up with these microplastic lumps? Like, where is it? Not that where is it going? You just said that it's kind of being ingested and stored. But why am I not kind of seeing the plastic buildup on my body?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so again, this is a pretty new field, right? This is a budding. There's not been a lot done to look at this, um, but just out of pure reasoning, they have to be getting out somewhere because, like you said, we would be microplastic.
Right. We could even call ourselves like homo microplasticness or something like that
Yeah,
because it
yeah,
feels
and
like, good.
yeah, exactly. And so it's like other toxins, right? Like your body can get other toxins out of the body, but there can still be quite a bit in there and so you need to detox or you need to mitigate. And so my guess is, and it's just logic, is that their body is somehow getting them out. Um, and it could be that, they're large. Some of these are large enough they don't even get in. And so you're ingesting them maybe through food or drink, and then they just go out through your feces, go straight through. Some of them, even the large ones, get in, and then have to get out somehow. Um, and so logically, they're somehow getting out. We don't really know a lot about it. I will say that the same researcher friend John, he's a kidney expert, and so he gets historically gets lots of kidneys, human kidneys that he slices. It's for to look under the microscope at, and he says there are some where when you look under the microscope, you look at you can do stains and you do different processes to look at the cells. And he said there are some that you just have to throw away because the microplastics reflect the light so much you can't determine anything. And basically he's seen numerous kidneys that just are unusable because of the microplastic load. And so basically only the smallest microplastics can get uh, uh, through into your urine, but some do. And we've looked at urine too, and can see microplastics in urine, but the ones that don't then can get stuck. And so do those microplastics come out? Maybe they can. Again, I'm not sure, but we know that like you said, we would be, all we we'd be dead if they somehow didn't get out. But that doesn't mean that we don't. It doesn't mean that we don't need to detox still. So yeah, I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, no, it gives a new kind of thought process. It's going to be a horrible joke to neuroplasticity if the plastics are going straight into our brain. And I also remember reading that there are trace amounts of microplastics in semen as well.
Yeah. Yes.
So let me just kind
Really,
of go ahead.
saliva too, different body fluids. Yeah.
So it's a prevalent issue. It's also a new field that we're studying. When you said that you can't really see it, the microplastic buildup in a checkup, that's really interesting. So I guess I'll ask very quickly, then how do we know that it is an issue right now? If we can't know about it in a checkup, then where does the issue come from?
Again, really good question. So there's a Did you happen to see the microplastics documentary released last month on Netflix?
No, I did
Yeah,
not.
so it's worth it's not very sciencey, but it's definitely worth a view. And they tie it to infertility. And so basically, what that means is because microplastics are porous and they have plasticizers, which make the plastic not brittle but more flexible. BPA is one of them. And BPA, like I mentioned, is an estrogen. It's an endocrine disruptor because it mimics estrogen. It looks like estrogen to the body. And what that means is, estrogen is a hormone, and hormones are signaling molecules. And so it can send out a signal, it's time to do this, send out a signal, it's time to stop this. For instance, menstruation, for instance, puberty. It's time to start puberty. And so there has been quite a bit of um, you know, like girls are going into puberty earlier today than they were in the 1940s. It's just a known fact. And part of that, I'm not saying all of it, but part of that is likely due to the amount of plastic in our body and the signaling in the body getting disrupted. And it's it's not a perfect analogy, but a TV is a signal, right? And so if you have two TV shows playing on top of each other, it's going to be garbled. You may be able to like notice a specific character. You may be able to determine what TV shows are on top of each other, but you're not going to know the plot, right? And so that's similarly like that when estrogen is and estrogen, like BPA, the estrogen mimicking compound, are over top of each other sending signals. The body's like, and so that can also lead to irregular menstruation in women, right? And and just general infertility, which is what the um, Netflix documentary was on. But in men and boys, like boys can go into puberty later because their testosterone. It's because it decreases the testosterone and that's in men too. So men can have decreased testosterone when it looks like there's more estrogen in the body. That can lead to sort of the tire around the waist, can lead to like you mentioned with sperm and microplastics in the sperm. They you can actually have a lower sperm count and a poorer quality
Hmm.
sperm. And so I mean, it's kind of a potpourri of things that can happen. Those are not like it's not you can directly measure like okay, this is I can see the microplastics in your blood. Most doctors aren't doing that. But what they can do is, look at okay, the girl, this young lady was what is it, 12 or 10 or something like that when they went into puberty. You're having irregular menstruation, your testosterone's way low, stuff like that.
No pressure on this next question, so we can
Sure.
skip it if you'd like. Um, Immediately, I go to the kind of like nth order consequences in terms of the social issues that we're facing right now. I'm not going to name anything, but just the variety of things that society is facing and people in society are facing. So I'll just kind of lay up the question. You can choose to dunk it if you want. Is there a certain thing in society that modern humanity is facing where there are a bunch of different explanations for it, but you look at it and you're like, it's not the mainstream thing to say, but it's probably because of microplastics that this is happening. You talked about infertility. Maybe it's something along those lines. Maybe it's something completely different.
Uh, Um, I like the question. I don't know if I have it's not that I don't want to answer it. I'm not sure I have an answer for that. I mean, certainly, I think, the Netflix documentary, they didn't really do measurements. They could have done a blood test on and measuring microplastics, and they didn't, which is disappointing. But they did measure like phthalates and BPA in the blood, which is, which is a proxy. And so, yeah, I mean, I think I know quite a few people who have not been able to get pregnant. And that's, um, it's an issue, right? In society. And I don't think many people were talking about, oh, it's because of microplastics before this documentary. There could be other things. It's nothing's coming to mind. I'll if my let my subconscious work on it, and
Yeah,
if it
absolutely.
comes, yeah,
I would love to follow up with you on the
sure.
answer to that. Okay, so somebody's going to be listening to this and then wondering, well, what the f do I do about this now? So
Yeah.
what do we do about this? If I can't go to my doctor and figure out my microplastics, who do I go to? How do I figure
Yeah.
it out?
So it's actually not that hard, right? Um, So how do I think since most of the microplastics are in the air, let's just deal with the air first, right? How are microplastics getting in the air? And so think about your house, think about your office, but let's just maybe stick with the house first. I have a couch in my house. The material made from the couch is it's a fiber and it's synthetic. It's plastic. The
Mm,
foam in the that the cushions are made of are foam. It's a plastic. When I don't know if you've ever looked, across a room and there's a ray of sunshine and you can see the dust, you know, it's proportional to like how much synthetic fiber is in your house, and that's what that dust is created from, and it's the same with your lint trap. If you have, let's say, 75% of your clothes are synthetic, now these days it's probably more than that, but then 75% of that lint trap material is plastic. And then like when you clean the lint trap, I've seen, I've always hated the plume of dust, and I've always held my breath, and because it's like it's nasty, right? And but it's not just nasty, it's dangerous. And so you want to be careful. Um and then bedding, you're good. Let's go to your room where you sleep and you spend the most time. Um, what's your bedding made of? And so you can have, and then do you have rugs?
right.
And what are those rugs made of? If they're made of wool, then good. If they're made of synthetic fibers, then, when you're cleaning them, you're vacuuming. And unless you have a HEPA vacuum cleaner where it's keeping that dust inside, then you're kicking up quite a bit of plastic that you're ingesting or you're breathing in rather. And so, you know, so I think the big thing is to be aware,
Hmm.
and don't, it can be overwhelming and scary, but there are action steps. You can get good HEPA filters for, $300 to $500. Just take a step, put,
Right.
some savings and get that one in your room first step. And you like, it'll be a massive step in the right direction. Just that one thing. But there are other things you can do.
Oh, I do want to expound on the other things. I've also been trying to pay more attention to not buying food in plastic and removing
Yeah.
the food in plastic containers and such. I'd love for you to say more about that. But let me
Yeah.
just go deeper on a certain point. This is all really expensive to do. Like the synthetic fibers, the synthetic materials, they're really cheap for a reason. And so when you're making this transition in life, obviously it's for the benefit of your health, for your children, for your family's health. What it's all for a reason, for a good reason at that. But it's also incredibly not just intimidating, but financially burdensome. Is there a way
Yeah.
to solve that? Feels like a stupid question, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, let's say you get cancer. You lived a frugal life, you get cancer, and that cancer, it's going to cost a lot of money to treat, right?
Right.
And most people have insurance, some people don't. I look at it as you pay me now or you pay me later as far as
Mm,
health, but you will pay me,
right.
and so, um, and so I think breaking it down, where are you getting most of your exposure from? Okay.
Mhm.
Um, so even without I would say, if you have a rug in your house that's synthetic, think about getting that up. And that will cost some money. But if not, um, then the cheaper solution would be to get a HEPA filter in that room. And then you can keep it on high when you're not in there, and it'll clean the air. And then you can keep it on low when you're there and not be distracted from the noise. And then when you vacuum it, you can basically know that you're kicking up a lot of microplastics, and be careful. Have the HEPA filter running. Um, again, in your bedroom. That's the first place you can get the HEPA filter, and I use an Air Doctor. They have them on sale periodically. But yeah, that's a great filter. And so it can be overwhelming, especially with clothing, and it can be costly, but there are inexpensive steps you can take. So I say, sleep with a filter in your room. You use a reverse osmosis filter on your sink. So an RO filter basically is, well, if you live on a well, you're fine. You don't have microplastics in the water at your house. But if you're in a municipality like I am, you do. And so even my municipality, Charlottesville, Virginia, does a great job at it's one of the best municipal waters in the country. But it still has 200 parts per million of particulates. And that can be plastic, it can be feces, fecal matter, it can be pesticides, it can be herbicides, pharmaceuticals. And so you want to basically have a reverse osmosis filter. The Brita filters that we're all familiar with, or even the refrigerator filters, those are mainly for taste. They really don't do anything outside of that. And so don't look to those to be cleaning your water properly. You can go to Amazon and get an inexpensive $200 to $300 reverse osmosis filter. Yeah, I mean that's a chunk of change for a lot of people. Um, but then it'll last you for years. Even, you can change out the cartridges. The one I have, there's three of us. We use it all the time, and it's just now noticeably slowing. And so we're gonna have to change the filter, but it's been 4 years.
Wow.
So yeah, it lasts and it cleans, and you can get a meter, and like for 25 bucks, and you can dip it into your municipal water, and it'll show you can see how many parts per million of particulates are in your water. And then I always say that you have the option to have, because it takes out the minerals, you have an option for in the reverse osmosis filter to re-add the minerals once it's filtered. And I say I don't like that because I want to be able to measure. Like
Right.
shit, I want to see, okay, it went from 200 to 1. And then I like to add trace minerals back after that. So it's just a food for thought.
Speaking of food, where do we go in terms of diet? Are there certain foods that, again, maybe it might sound silly, do they break down plastic? Do they aid in the breaking down of foreign materials in your body? Should you be paying attention to certain foods? Like, for example, don't eat meat wrapped in plastic. Try to avoid meal prepping in plastic containers and such. Avoid fruits that are packaged in plastic. Where do we go for diet?
Yeah, so just food, anything that's acidic should not be in a plastic container. So, a great one is, you know, metal cans. They're metal, right? But all metal cans are lined with a very thin layer of plastic, all of them. And so, tomato sauce in a can. You don't want to get any tomato products in a can. Don't want that. Always get in glass. And then lemon juice. Recently, there's always this one brand in glass that I buy, and there was another one that was larger and less expensive, still organic, and I just grabbed it, and then I got home and I'm like, ah, darn it, it was in plastic. Um, so so that's one thing. Then in terms of food prep, like the biggest thing, I'd say outside of RO filter for your drinking water and have a filter in the room you sleep in is do not microwave food in plastic containers. Um, because you can leach up to 100 million microplastics per container. It's a
Oh,
huge thing. And so ceramic, glass, I don't, yeah, um, we could argue about microwaves, which I don't want to. But if you're going to microwave, use ceramic or glass. But you can also use metal if you want to throw it in the oven. And so I do. I kind of I have a glass I can put in the oven and metal I can put in the oven. And excuse me, pardon me.
may I interrupt you for a second? Again, we can go down this route or not. Why don't you want to argue about microwaves?
Because um, I'm well, maybe we won't argue. What do you think about microwaves?
I'm fundamentally curious. If you're somebody like you is saying that we should be thinking about usage of the microwave, I want to listen. I want to learn.
I just think I think it changes the structure of the food. And so it's not like putting out like dangerous particles because it's just not to your body. But I do think it changes like the structure of your water that you heat that way, structure of the food. So I don't think but it's generally not. I mean, a lot of people would disagree with that, which is I'm fine with.
When you say change the structure, is it changing like the atomic structure, or is it? You just said it's not adding anything. So how is it changing the structure?
Yeah, you can. I mean, again, this is not my area of expertise, and it's been years since I've gone down the rabbit hole. But like, you can see like energy profiles. Let's just say water, and you can see it change once you microwave it.
Mm.
And so it's. I mean, you know, it's. But I mean, like we have one. I don't. I'll typically use it, but my kids with my kids do at work. I have a supplement company. So we're in health and wellness. And I was like, no microwave in the office, and then so we had heaters, and then yeah, that it was probably we're 3 years in now, we're 7 years in, but and then the microwave came. So yeah, it's fine. I did put my foot down on that. I was like when the Burger King um, trash was left in the like okay, I don't mind. Like I know like people have different views on fast food, but like you can just eat it in your car.
Right.
I don't want that crap in that building. So
Let's walk a couple steps back, but still move forward.
yeah,
You were picking up the lemon juice in the glass bottle. There was another bigger bottle. You grabbed it. You didn't think
yeah,
about it. You got home. It's plastic. Shit. Where else does that happen in your life? And is
yeah,
that an appropriate reaction? Go ahead.
yeah. I mean, so my favorite Indian restaurant, my favorite Thai restaurant. So um, yeah, I hadn't eaten at either in a while, and then went, and then this really hot meal is in a black plastic container with a clear plastic top, and I'm just like, darn. And
Just
now,
again, sorry to interrupt you. Are you sending that back? I would if I'm in your shoes. I would say I'm not eating this if it's in plastic.
yeah, well, I didn't send it back because it was takeout, but
Okay.
but uh, but I'm not going to go back.
Right.
So. But the Indian place does have the rice in an aluminum metal like container, and so I think yeah, if they're willing to put the other food in that, I think then that would be a nice compromise.
No, again, I want to continue going down this route because I have so many sauces that are in plastic. I'm gonna throw away the rest of my sparkling water that's in a can. Does this, so just speaking on more of the personal slash emotional front, Does this type of quote unquote lifestyle affect you? Do you kind of like wish that it wasn't in your mind? Wish that you could just be free and use the microwave and, heat up some popcorn in the microwave, for example? Like,
Oh man, dude. Yeah, microwave popcorn. I need to put that. I'm gonna take a note on that because I because that has a I have a list
have stuff to buy?
of just like when people are like, what are common things you can get rid of to mitigate? And that's not on the list, but that's chock full. Because if you can see the plastic on the liner of that
Mm,
bag. The outside is paper, the inside is plastic.
right.
Um, yeah, I haven't looked at how many microplastics have been found in microwave popcorn, but it's because anything that's heated is sizable. So no, just to answer your question, I try to um, like uh, I, I I try to basically have good detox protocols. So
Mm.
um, I can detox plastics. And I can, if I go out to eat and, there's glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup, or if there's bad oils, I know, first of all, I know what not to order. Second of all, like there are very few situations where I get stuck. I'll just, um, you know, um, just not eat, or hey, I'm just going to get a glass of water, or
Right.
a sparkling water, and so. And that's fine. Like it's not like I feel robbed. It's just, but it is a lifestyle. I'd say I have two boys and they would, they know. Um, but I think that like they eat exceptionally clean. But they also, I'll find like a Skittles bag, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Um, you
Come
know,
on, guys. You can have sugar. Just don't make it plastic.
Like, well, it's just, and you can have sugar, but not high fructose corn syrup. Like high fructose
Uh,
corn syrup if there's one food, people ask me this, if there's one food to avoid if are concerned about cancer, that's it. High fructose corn, yeah, but it's everywhere, right? It's in all
right.
the candy, it's in all the soft drinks. So it's an issue.
Just again, when we're talking about lifestyle and such, I don't want to seem like it's making it very difficult for people, but for yourself and for myself, like I don't eat fast food, I don't drink, soda or have
Yeah.
candy or chips or anything. So all of
Yep.
this is not novel to me. I'm already following in these footsteps, and I'm very comfortable and happy in this lifestyle.
Yep.
But for somebody like my girlfriend, for example, she has the microwave popcorn, she has a can of Coke every once in a while, all of these things. Whenever I talk to her about this, it's she listens and she understands and she wants to take steps along those lines. But for a lot of people, it's a very foreign lifestyle. It's a very intimidating and difficult lifestyle. And so, what are those first easy steps for people to take? How do people talk to their partners or to their families about this? How do we kind of build not an individual lifestyle, but maybe like a community around this and make it so that it's easy for people to onboard?
Sure. Um, I'd say the first step would be to observe. And like with my oldest son, he knows everything. He knows the stuff, but he recently got his driver's license and has loved popping into the local pizza place to get a slice. And then all of a sudden, like he's getting acne.
Mm,
And he's like, over Christmas, he's like, I'm done with this acne stuff. What can I do, Dad? He knows that I know. And I'm like, well, maybe stop eating like crap. And he's like, but you feed me. I don't eat like crap. I'm like, pizza place. He's
right.
like, oh yeah. And then just think like, and so if there's a presenting problem, then like irregular menstruation in women, and what's causing that? Infertility, and just being like, okay, there's a problem. There are steps you can take, and you can just say, like, I don't know, like, I don't know that's exactly the problem, but let's find out. Like,
Mm,
take a step. Um, and then also like, so I'd say observing if there's an issue presenting itself and being like, hey, do you want to talk about this? Here's some thoughts I've had. And then also being like, if there aren't presenting issues, but there are concerns like the cancer thing, then there's a lot you can do to mitigate, especially with environmental toxins. There are a lot of things you can do, but most of them are pretty actually easy steps you can take. Instead of going out and getting a soda, just get some water. Yeah, it's municipal water, and it has crap in it, but it's a lot better than than that Coke or Pepsi or whatever it is. Um, and so, I actually carry water, stainless steel, and I'll just carry that all day and just sip on it. And then if I see there are clean water, filtered water dispensers all kind of popping up all over I don't know if there are in Montreal, but in Charlottesville, it's pretty easy now to find something that has a filtered water that's decently filtered. And so watch what you drink, and just, you and then, I think figuring out like I know a lot of people that agree with me, but they do like the 80/20 principle. And so 80% of their diet's clean, but then, if they eat out or whatever, 20% isn't. Eating out, you just have to really assume that you're going to get like insulted with toxins.
Right.
And the amount is depending on where you eat out. So I have a list of organic places that serve organic options. There's no place here that is all organic. And so you can get clean options. Um, um, and so just knowing what those places are, knowing okay, what oils do they use? There's a app called Seed Scout, and it's growing. It was pretty measly when I first got on it, but there are places that people write in this place uses seed oils, and that those are bad because they're high in omega-6s and typically rancid. And so using places that use olive oil instead is a good option. And so, yeah, I just, I like the 80/20 principle because you don't stress. And then I don't stress because I own a supplement company and we have a product that detoxes. It's the detoxes microplastics, and it detoxes heavy metals, detoxes pretty much everything. And so, yeah, I still want to eat clean, but if something slips by because I'm on this regimen, then I'm not worried.
You were mentioning an application, and it was in the back of my mind to say that I would love it if there was some type of AI application where you could take a picture of something and upload it, and you could it could tell you like, hey, this is going to be heavily influenced from microplastics, or like there has to be some type of AI detector that can see past the human eye, the naked human eye, to say, there's a heavy amount of microplastics in the air, or in the food, or in this material, or something. Like there has to be something like that.
I'm writing that down.
Absolutely. So again, we
There
were
is,
talking.
I know there are like there was a kid and he got pretty famous and made a lot of money. People have mimicked him since, but he had an app where you could take a picture and then it spit out the number of calories.
Right.
Uh,
Yep.
and I
100%.
can't remember the app, but like it was like revolutionary. And so yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, at this point, it may already be even out there
Right.
because
And
things are
if it's not,
developing so
then
quickly. Yeah,
if it's not, then definitely create it. Let's talk about detox, which we were
sure.
talking so much about. Preventing more microplastics from going inside, or from
Yeah.
ingesting. How do we get them out of our bodies? Is it in ancient Chinese philosophy, the Taoist philosophy, it was a lot of fasting. They said that they would fast once a day or once a week, for 3 days every quarter, for 7 days every year, to try to kind of clean the gunk out of the body. Um, Fasting has become a really big deal now, even though people don't practice it properly, because they think intermittent fasting is like
Fasting.
8 hours of
Yeah.
the day, which is
Yeah.
not true, based off of a study that people haven't read. Anyway, um, what is a 411 on fasting? Does that do anything for microplastics? How do we detoxify the body in general?
Fasting is it's a great way to reset. And so if you have GI issues, even if you're worried about cancer, if you're feeling blasé or lethargic. I think quarterly fasting is great and doing either 3-day water fast or 5-day fasting mimicking um, uh, where you're there's something called the Prolon diet out
Hmm.
of Southern California, which mimics fat the benefits of fasting. So you get the the other if you have places in your body that have pain, so you get a stem cell proliferation. So that's a large part of it. You also get your ketones engaged, so there can be a level of clarity of mind. 3 days is pretty much when that starts, and so people will do 3-day fast. I'm like, dude, you're not getting the benefit. Like you're getting the stem cell benefit, but you're not like you haven't. The hunger pains leave after the third day, and so you kind of have that you ride high for the next 4 days if you do 7 day. And it's like, you think super clearly, you're wide awake, you sleep great. For me, I can do some good writing. Anyway, um, but yeah, fasting's great for a reset. And then, from a stem cell benefit, I think that the rule of thumb is quarterly, to get the benefit. And I will say, I want to add, if you've heard of berberine, berberine actually is not bioavailable. We have a bioavailable version at mara-labs.com. Basically, so berberine, it's great for getting you into ketosis, um, or at least is good in the labs. But it also, so two things I'll say. Um, there it So we basically, if you ever do the ketogenic diet, it's not, depending on who you are and your body composition, most people it takes a bit of time to get into ketosis, and that's because we probably have fat, and glucose everywhere, and so burning that off is important. And then, but I will say with our version of berberine, it's called berberine. We did a study looking at taking it at night, um, then or no, not eating dinner, not eating overnight, skipping breakfast, taking two berberates, and by at 7 and by noon, you're in light ketosis. And so usually regular berberine can get you into ketosis, but it takes 3 to 4 weeks, because of the bioavailability issue. So this is 4 to 5 hours. And so I mention it in terms of fasting because it is sort of mimics the pathways of fasting too. And so it's like a fasting in a pill. You can get many of the benefits of fasting from taking berberine, if it's bioavailable. And then also one of my favorite studies is how berberine outperforms Valium as a sleep aid.
Mm.
And so basically, there's a study, and it was a mouse study, but basically it showed, and the reason for that is a 30% increase in serotonin, a 25% increase in dopamine, which is the feel-good molecule. Um, and so that's huge as far as improving sleep. Um, but getting back to fasting, yeah, I would recommend fasting, and I think the thing you need to be careful about when you're fasting is when you drop fat, a lot of heavy metals, a lot of toxins are in our fat, and so if you're
Mm.
fasting and not eating, you will be burning fat stores, and so it's good to rem, if you're not feeling that great, that's why. And so you want to just be careful in that regards.
I want to take a little bit of a swing in a different direction. You were the founder of Mara Labs, and Mara is an important name for you and in general. I think it's a beautiful name with respect to your late wife. Um, I will avoid asking about the story because I feel like you always get that question.
Sure.
But I want to know what your relationship is to the company in terms of grief and in terms of what the company means to you and what it represents, because it's
Yeah, I
not just
mean,
a company, it's something so
yeah.
much more.
Yeah, and so she Mara died of breast cancer in 2017. And so and because our compounds are known in the literature, we can't, FDA, we can't say that supplements treat, prevent, diagnose any disease state. Um, but when somebody hears about sulforaphane, um, there's a plethora of literature on sulforaphane cancer, on curcumin in cancer, berberine in cancer, and resveratrol in cancer, quercetin in cancer. And so these plant-based molecules, there's just bodies of literature. So we get people coming in, right? Asking questions, most of which we can't answer, but we can like, you know, they I can empathize with them and be like, I'm so sorry that that's happening to you. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, um, and I think also, from a cellular health standpoint, once people do the standard of care, chemo, radiation, surgery, they are cured because there's no other, there's nothing else to do. And just being like, hey, our products really can be a next step at supporting your health. We're not saying it treats cancer, but it's a good next step. So, I don't know if that answers your question. As far as grief, like my grieving process is continual, but it's definitely a different today than it was 7 years ago. When it was less than a year, which is or I guess it was 8 years ago, um, and so I think I can enter into other people's grieving and concern.
As one of the last questions, we've talked so much about not just microplastics, but society in
Yeah.
general. And there's kind of a meta question that springs to my mind, which I struggle with on a daily basis. I think you'll have a really interesting answer for it, which is number one, do you feel that we've kind of created this society that doesn't fundamentally work for humans as we exist right now? And number two, as a follow up, how do we get back from that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'm immediately drawn to the Lord of the Rings and Tolkien, and his sort of overarching theme was sort of natural versus the evil, industrial, just ruining nature, light, dark. I mean, what do I think of it? Yeah, I think it's unfortunate. I think there are a lot of people out there who um, don't care about. I mean, they're out there for profit. And we kind of see it, right? You think about the pharmaceutical companies who got dinged, who got the massive lawsuit for the opioid crisis. They didn't
Right.
care, right? You think about the um, the pig farmers and the industrial pig, like the Smithfield in Western or Eastern North Carolina, where they would just throw the feces in the air, and people would have to deal with that, and just stand and it's for profit. And so I think there are ways to, I mean, during the people, the argument is we need the industrial food complex to survive. And I think that I just want to point out that if you think about food production in the 40s during World War II, everybody had a victory garden in their backyard. And the amount of food you can grow in a very small space is mind-boggling. And so I just encourage people, it's therapeutic, it's grounding. The food, you know where it came from. And so yeah, I think gardening is a good kind of push away from that. You're not, most people aren't going to be able to garden most of their food, but it's so shocking how much you can grow just in a backyard garden. So yeah, I mean, um I don't know if that did that that started to answer your question, but maybe you can
I
follow
don't,
up.
I don't think that there is an answer,
Yeah,
because I don't see that there is one ring, and I don't see that there's one Mordor. So just to use that analogy that you created.
sure. Yeah,
But I do think that we're all on the path, and I think that if we can, create more conversation around it, then people can start. Go ahead.
I will say like we all have decisions to make. The best boycott in history was the 1970s Nestle boycott.
Mm.
It's pre-internet. Um, and it was basically Nestle was selling air conditioners to people, to doctors in Africa, or not selling, giving them if they peddled their formula. And basically, women would get the formula dry up and not be able to feed their kids. And it was just it was awful. And there's a huge boycott, and they about faced. And so we the decision was to not buy Nestle products, and it made an impact. I'm just saying there's decisions we can make, in a daily fashion. And I do want to, I mean, on a different note, I mean, we've talked about a lot of things, but I would be remiss if I didn't highlight, which I have not yet, the sulforaphane the broccoli supplement that we sell. And we've talked about detox, and it's the best phase two detoxifier of any natural compound. There's three phases of detox. It works in all three. But a researcher in last June did a project on broccoli sulforaphane, our broccoli product, and basically showed that it mobilizes microplastics for excretion. So it dissolves the lysosomes that they're stuck in, and it mobilizes them so it can get into the lymph, into the bile and out. And so, if you're concerned about that, we also pair it with our resveratrol product, and we call it the microplastic detox protocol or bundle. Basically, if you think of the kitchen sink getting unstopped with the broccoli product and the resveratrol product, it widens the plumbing so more can get out. And so we have that as a special for your listeners. It's mara-labs.com/plastic, up to 28% off. And it comes with, we have if you get a bundle, it comes with a 7-day microplastics detox protocol. I talk about a lot of different things of how to mitigate, how to lessen microplastics in your environment. Some I shared on the shows, most of it I didn't. And so that's free with the purchase. And so it's what some people want to take advantage of that.
I do want to not push back on on that, but also ask. People are so accustomed to folks on podcasts selling supplements like nootropics or whatever it is, like at Brian Johnson's
Sure.
Blueprint or Athletic Greens or whatever it is. And there's a lot of noise about that. So how do people know when something is legit versus just marketing hype? Are there scientific papers on it? Like, how do we do that research?
Yeah, there's a Substack, well, on them in general. Like on my product, I'll bypass that by just saying we offer an unconditional 100-day money back guarantee. So it doesn't work for some people, or some people are sure it doesn't work, and that's fine. Like I'm not going to argue with you. We will refund you, no questions asked. But with that, we offer that because we know it does work. And so I'd say look at the guarantee, look at the certificate of analysis. There are research paper, like there's one on athletic greens that came out in March that showed it doesn't do a darn thing,
Right.
which is like shocking. I mean, I don't know. Did you see that one?
I heard about it, right?
Yeah.
That's why I'm more turned off with the entire supplement industry because it feels like people are neglecting their own diets to take in supplements, but the entire point of a supplement is to get something that they're not getting from their diet.
Additionally, yeah.
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, there are superfoods out there. And so there, let's take a step back. So if you exercise, and you have a good diet, so exercise and nutrition, it's the king and queen. Together you have a kingdom. And so like exercise is first. You do I mean, I'm not even going to get into the types of exercise, but even walking,
Hmm?
it's a great form of exercise. Just move. and then nutrition. And so those are two important things. But supplements are in addition to those two. And so if you're not doing those two, what are you like? Why are you wanting to supplement? You know?
Yeah.
And so I agree with you. The supplement industry is insidious. There are two sulforaphane products that have sulforaphane in the capsule, and there are on the market, and there are hundreds that say they do, and they're
Mm-hmm.
lying. And it's deceptive, and it's just like if I had, I mean, it's I want to sue them,
Mm-hmm.
but like then I would be a legal company because there's so many of them, you know.
Right.
And the other thing is because we have what they want, we've they've been lawsuits against us saying don't that when we say this company doesn't have sulforaphane, we get a lawsuit.
Mm.
So it's like it's pretty crazy, and it's whoever has the biggest pocketbook wins basically, and we're a small company.
So here's the plan. We'll start a subsidiary company for the AI, for the plastic thing, make a
Yep.
pile of money, create the legal company, sue them, make even more money. Humanity wins. Everything is good.
I
Um,
like that. I like how you think.
I just want to also ask, what other supplements are you taking?
Yeah,
If there's the queen and the king in the kingdom, who's the prince
sure.
or princess?
We have so we have a GLP-1 alternative, like an Ozempic alternative. Um, basically, it has EGCG from green tea extract in it that's bioavailable, and it does a great job at decreasing you're just not hungry. So
Mm,
it downregulates ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, and it has the berberine I mentioned and alpha lipoic acid, which both regulate blood sugar spikes. So if
sure.
let's say neither of us eat candy, but you can eat a piece of bread or some rice and get depending on how, and so it just mitigates the spikes and so you're not which helps with craving. So I take that. I take a I'm a fan of Adapt Naturals. They have a organ meat supplement, and then also just a daily multivitamin that are natural. And so that's Chris Kresser. I like his. I take a magnesium supplement. Bio Optimizers has all of them in a supplement, and then I take the ones I take also of mine are broccoli. I'll take that a ton of that, and then Kirkleet. Kirkleet, I'm 53, and so I can wake up, or if I work out, I can be sore, and so both of those together really help with the with performance and as well as like recovery from training, and so I'm not waking up and like, oh, I can't move.
Right.
So
No, I love it. I love it. I really respect the human first approach before supplementation, and really focusing on nutrition and exercise and sleep before we add in anything. Um, Two more questions. If you could wave a magic wand and solve a problem in the world, what would it be and why?
um, there are quite a few problems out there. So. I mean, let's just, be consistent since we just had a big conversation about microplastics. Um, I mean, that would be a pretty awesome wand to wave is to have sort of a sustainable alternative because I mean, I'm looking at like my paper towels rack, they're microplastics and paper towels. So like it's just there's so much so it's so everywhere that it's like where do you begin? And so but if you go back to the 1940s, you didn't get meat wrapped in plastic. You got meat from your butcher wrapped in paper. And
Right.
so so whole societies functioned for most of our history without plastic. It's
Hmm.
just now, I mean, because and it's big oil, right? So a lot of it's byproducts of petroleum. And so and there's it's a big industry. And so like how do you step away from that. And so that would be, I don't know. So that would be a nice place to wave that wand.
And if it wasn't microplastics, what would it be?
Um, I think from my story, um, having a um, you know, uh, I mean, I think we do, but just the whole like cancer thing and seeing people go through cancer, that would be also a nice wand to wave where that would kind of there'd be um, much better, much more natural alternatives and just treatment actual treatments to work that would be in the standard of care, not
Perfect.
these chemotherapeutics that give you a 0.5% 5-year survival rate. And they cost 100,000, 200,000, $200,000, and they're just poison. And so that would be another nice wand to wave.
As a last question, what gives you hope in the world?
Oh, that's easy. I mean, so my faith in God and Jesus gives me hope. But like in humanity, I know a lot of good people, like, and just seeing, people, you see some people misbehave, but like my boys, they're, they're growing into wonderful humans, and and it's not just me. It's just not my like. There are a lot of great parents out there whose kids, for whatever reason, aren't great, and so like seeing that and the kids at their school are also great. So seeing that next generation growing up, that many of them I've known since they were in the kindergarten. So it's pretty cool to see that the next generation.
David, it was wonderful interviewing you today. I genuinely was shocked at a lot of the things you said, but in a good way. I'm really glad that you are the person that is behind the movement, other than Mara, and bringing this information to the people that need it, which is basically everybody, because microplastics are everywhere. Where can we find you online? Where can we keep up with you?
Yeah, I mean, we have Instagram, the Mara Labs, TheMara Labs on Facebook and Instagram. We will be on TikTok soon. Not there yet. And then our website, which you can order from, which is where we do most of our businesses, mara-labs.com. And again, if you're interested in that bundle that we were talked about, it's /plastic.
I can't wait to see you dance on TikTok.
Ha! I know. I got some moves.
It's gonna be great. All right,
Yeah.
David. Until next time. Thank you so much for
Thanks.
today.
Thanks so much for having me. You asked great questions.